I'm Jessica, 32 years old, and I never thought my hard-earned money would shatter my family. But one dinner changed everything. My mom, napkin flung on the table, screamed, "You're trash, get out of this house." My sister shoved me toward the door, sneering, "Go live in the trash." I clenched my fists, wiped silent tears, and walked out. A week later, 33 missed calls flooded my phone, my mom begging, "Help us, we're about to be homeless." My reply, one cold line, "Beggars don't deserve homes." Before I get to my story, I want to know what time and what city you're listening in. I'm glad to know how far my story has spread. That night still burns in my memory, but its roots go back to when I was 10, living in a modest Detroit suburb. My Aunt Evelyn came for dinner at our small brick house. My dad, Ronald, was struggling his corner grocery store, drowning under big box competition. He begged Evelyn for a few $1,000s to save it, his voice cracking over the meatloaf. Evelyn, fresh off a divorce and scraping by, refused, gently suggesting he try online sales instead. My mom, Patricia, slammed her fork down, eyes blazing. "You're trash to this family if you won't help blood," she yelled, storming to the door, shoving Evelyn out and locking it tight. I stood frozen in the hallway, hearing my sister sob in her room. Patricia turned to Dad, voice cold. "Anyone who won't help gets cut off, we'll manage." I cried myself to sleep, terrified of being labeled trash if I ever said no to family. That fear stuck with me. Mom and Dad worked hard to raise me and my sister in that same house, scraping by but keeping food on the table. Dad ran his store. Mom worked part-time at the local library. They preached saving every penny, but Mom controlled the cash, deciding what mattered. I loved computers early, teaching myself code on a clunky old desktop while other kids played outside. Mom called it a cute hobby, not seeing my drive. High school was quiet. I studied hard, worked weekends at a coffee shop, and saved for college. I got into NYU with a partial scholarship, thrilled but daunted by the costs. College wasn't cheap even with aid. I juggled freelance coding gigs and waitressing, coding late while roommates partied. I graduated with a degree in IT, minimal loans, and a developer job in New York. Starting pay was modest, so I shared an apartment, cooked my own meals, and worked extra projects. By 24, promotions came fast. At 25, I bought a small Brooklyn apartment, my own key, a quiet badge of pride. By 27, leading a dev team, I was earning a solid 6 figures, my life on track. Then, everything shifted. Dad's store finally collapsed, crushed by chains wiping out their savings. At 59, he was jobless, his retail skills outdated. Mom's library hours barely covered groceries, let alone their mounting credit card debt. 3 months behind, they called me, voices shaky with panic. I flew home to Detroit, stunned by stacks of overdue bills on their kitchen counter, the fridge nearly empty. Without a second thought, I paid off their credit cards, thousands of dollars, and set up automatic transfers from my account to cover their debts. Mom hugged me, tears in her eyes, promising it was just until Dad got back on his feet. I nodded, that childhood memory of Evelyn's rejection flashing in my mind. I couldn't risk being the trash who let them down. It was supposed to be temporary, a few months, maybe 6. Dad would find work, they'd recover, and I'd focus on my own future again, but months turned into a year, then 2. Every job interview Dad had fell apart. Positions filled, companies downsizing, or him deemed too experienced. Mom's hours got cut further, adding pressure. I didn't mind at first. My salary could handle it, and helping felt right after all they'd done for me. But Mom's gratitude started to shift. She'd mention new expenses during my visits, car repairs, medical bills, her tone hinting until I offered to cover them. That childhood fear kept me saying yes, but a nagging doubt was growing, whispering that something wasn't right. Mom's hints kept coming, her casual mentions of new expenses, car repairs, doctor visits piling up until I offered to cover them. Dad seemed uneasy, shifting in his chair during these talks, but never spoke against her. By the 3rd year of paying their debts, I noticed their living room transformed, sleek leather couches, a gleaming coffee table, pricey curtains. I asked about it during a visit, pointing at the new decor. Mom waved her hand, voice sharp. "We deserve something nice, Jessica, life's been rough." Dad stared at his shoes, avoiding my gaze. I swallowed my frustration, that childhood fear of being called trash holding me back. I tried bringing up their financial plan several times, suggesting Dad look for retail jobs or Mom take full-time hours at the library. Each attempt ended with Mom's eyes welling up, her voice trembling. "After everything we sacrificed for you, your education, your dreams, this is the least you can do." It shut me down every time, guilt twisting my gut. By year 5, the automatic transfers from my account felt like just another bill, the total climbing well past $100,000. They were my parents. How could I say no? But that nagging doubt grew louder, whispering I was being played. Then I met Michael at a tech conference in Manhattan. He was a marketing consultant, sharp and kind, with a knack for cutting through bullshit. Our first coffee date stretched into hours, then regular weekends together. 5 months in, I brought him to meet my family in Detroit. Mom made her famous apple pie, Dad showed off old photo albums, and my sister barely looked up from her phone. It felt warm at first, but I caught Mom's tight smile when Michael talked about his career or our plans. The air grew heavy, like she was sizing him up. Driving back to New York, Michael was quiet, his hands tight on the wheel. Finally, he spoke. "Does your mom always talk like you owe her everything?" I frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" He glanced at me, eyes steady. "She brought up your debt to them 6 times, how they gave up so much for you. And when you mentioned easing up on the payments, she changed the subject fast. It's manipulative as hell." I defended them, explaining their struggles, Dad's failed store, Mom's cut hours. But his words stuck echoing that night when Mom threw out my aunt for not helping. Was I just another Evelyn to her? 2 weeks later, I landed a major promotion at work. Lead developer, bigger projects, a 25% pay bump. I called home to share the news, excited. Mom's first question cut through my pride. "How much more are you making now, honey?" Her tone was too eager, not a hint of congratulations. "About 25%, I said, instantly regretting it. "Perfect," she replied, almost too fast. "The house needs work, the roof's leaking, and your dad's back is killing him from it. A fix would help so much." My chest tightened, that familiar guilt creeping in. I mumbled something about thinking it over, but her voice turned sharp. "Your future's more important than your dad's health, isn't it?" By the time I hung up, I'd agreed to increase their monthly payments, my promotions, extra cash already spoken for. Michael found me that night on my couch, staring at my laptop, a spreadsheet of my transfers open. He sat beside me, his hand on mine. "Jessica, they're using guilt to control you. That's not love, it's a transaction." His words hit hard, stirring up that old memory of Mom locking Evelyn out. I wasn't ready to admit it fully, but deep down, I knew he was right. Something had to change. The demands didn't stop. I called home a week after my promotion, buzzing to share the news. Lead developer, a 25% pay bump, bigger projects. Mom picked up, her voice syrupy sweet. "Honey, how much more you earning now?" No congratulations, just that question, sharp and expectant. I hesitated, then answered, "About 25%. Mistake." "That's great," she said, too quick. "The roof's leaking bad, your dad's back is shot from cleaning up. A new one would fix everything." My stomach nodded, the same old pressure. "Mom, this promotion means longer hours, more stress. I was planning to boost my savings." Silence. Then her voice low and wounded. "So, your savings matter more than your dad's health?" I mumbled I'd think about it, but by the call's end I'd agreed to send extra money each month. Michael found me pacing my apartment, jaw tight. He sat me down, eyes serious. "They're guilting you into being their bank. That's not family, it's control." His words stung, echoing his warning from our drive. I brushed it off, not ready to face it, but the truth was sinking in. Things got worse when my sister lost her part-time retail job and moved back home at 29. She was freeloading, adding to the bills I covered. During a visit, I spotted new art supplies in her room, easels, paints, canvases, easily costing thousands. I asked where the money came from. Mom jumped in, voice sharp. "She needs to express herself, Jessica. Not everyone's a corporate drone like you." I bit my tongue, but the sting lingered. Later that night, I overheard Mom and my sister in the kitchen, their voices low. "Don't worry about Jessica," Mom said, chuckling. "She's got plenty, I know how to keep her on the hook." My sister laughed, adding, "Yeah, she's our cash cow." My heart sank, their words slicing deep. It was that moment with Aunt Evelyn all over again, family using me, no gratitude, just entitlement. I called Evelyn the next day, my mom's sister, the one they'd cut off years ago. Her voice was calm, steady. "Jessica, love doesn't mean giving until you're empty. They'll respect you more if you set limits." She'd been through it, kicked out for saying no. Her words lit a fire in me, pushing me to see the pattern. Mom wasn't just asking for help. She was playing me. Mom's calls grew relentless after that, more demands piling up. If I missed a Sunday dinner because of work, I'd get texts dripping with guilt. "Your dad was so excited to see you, how could you let him down?" If I brought Michael, Mom made snide remarks about him not getting family ties. The breaking point came when I had to cancel a visit last minute. A critical app bug at work needed my fix, keeping me in New York over the weekend. I called to explain, but Mom cut me off, voice icy. You're too busy for us now, huh? Selfish, putting your job over family. I snapped back, tired of the games. Mom, I'm literally paying your bills. How's that selfish? She scoffed. Throwing it in our face, real nice, Jessica. She hung up, leaving me fuming. That night, I sat with Michael staring at my bank app, the transfers glaring back at me. Evelyn's advice rang in my ears: set limits or lose yourself. I knew what I had to do. I'd go to Detroit next Sunday, face them head on, and demand a change. No more being their cash cow. I spent the week preparing, scribbling points on note cards like I was prepping for a boardroom pitch. Michael helped, playing Mom's role with eerie accuracy, mimicking her sharp tone, her guilt trips. After all we've done, this is how you repay us, he'd say, then break character to coach me. Stay calm, Jessica, but don't back down. His support steeled my nerves. I asked Mom to make her chili, our family's favorite, hoping the familiar comfort would soften the tension. Sunday morning, we drove to Detroit, my stomach in knots but my resolve firm. When we arrived, the house smelled of spices, warm and inviting. Mom greeted me with a hug so tight it felt forced, her eyes flicking to Michael with a cold edge. My sister was there, uninvited, sprawled on the couch, scrolling her phone. Dad at least seemed genuinely happy, wrapping Michael in a bear hug that made me smile despite the dread. Dinner started light. Dad talked about his garden, Michael shared a story from work, and we laughed about the rainy spring. I waited until dessert, apple pie cooling on the table, to clear my throat. I need to talk about our financial setup. I started, voice steady. The room shifted, Mom's spoon freezing mid-air, Dad's eyes dropping to his plate. My sister rolled her eyes, muttering under her breath. I've been happy to help for 6 years, but it's time for a plan to get you independent again. Mom's face tightened. What's that supposed to mean, Jessica? She asked, voice low. I'm saying I need to focus on my future. Michael and I are building something. You and Dad can manage with some changes. Mom cut in sharp. So, this is about him, isn't it? He doesn't want you helping your own family. Michael stiffened beside me but stayed silent as we'd planned. It's not about him, I said, firm. It's about what's fair. Dad, there are retail jobs out there your experience fits. And Mom, why not go full-time at the library? Dad shifted uncomfortably, nodding slightly. I've looked, honey. It's tough at my age. I pressed gently. But have you really? No interviews in over a year. Mom's voice rose. How dare you question your father? Employers don't want older workers. It's not his fault. I held my ground. There are options, retraining programs, part-time to start. Mom, your hours are down to 15 a week. What's stopping you from more? Her face flushed red. My health. Jessica, as you'd know if you cared. I don't need to explain myself to you. I took a breath, pushing forward. I'm not attacking you. 6 years was supposed to be temporary. I've given over $100,000. How is that not enough? The room went still. Dad's jaw dropping, my sister's phone slipping to her lap. They hadn't realized the number. Mom's eyes narrowed. You're counting, keeping tabs on your own parents like some accountant. That's not the point, I said, voice rising despite myself. It was meant to help you get back on your feet, not become my job forever. Mom stood, chair scraping the floor. This is about you thinking you're better than us, your fancy job, your boyfriend, your city life. You've forgotten who raised you. My heart pounded, that childhood fear flashing back. Mom, please just listen. No, you listen, she shouted. You're trash, get out of this house. Her words hit like a slap, the same ones she'd thrown at Evelyn years ago. My sister jumped up, shoving me toward the door, her voice dripping venom. Go live in the trash. Dad sat, frozen eyes on the table, saying nothing. I clenched my fist, tears stinging, but I wouldn't let them see me break. Michael took my hand, his touch steady. We should go, he said quietly. I looked at Dad one last time, hoping he'd speak, stand up, anything. He didn't. My sister smirked, enjoying the chaos. In that moment, I saw them clearly. Mom's control, my sister's entitlement, Dad's silence. My family, the one I'd poured everything into, wasn't what I thought. Without a word, I turned, walked out with Michael, and shut the door behind us. In the car, I gripped the steering wheel, too raw to drive, my chest heavy with betrayal. A week later, I sat in my Brooklyn apartment, staring at my banking app. The numbers hit like a punch, nearly $200,000 sent to my parents over 6 years. Every transfer, every extra payment for their bills, groceries, random expenses, it added up to enough for a second apartment. My phone buzzed relentlessly, 33 missed calls from Mom, each voicemail more desperate. Jessica, I was wrong, please. She sobbed in one. We're facing eviction, help us. Another, her voice cracking. Your dad cried all night, come home. I scrolled through texts, each one pleading, some angry, some pitiful. My sister sent one, you're ruining us, Jess. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I called my bank, voice steady, and canceled every automatic transfer to their account. Confirm permanent stop, the rep asked. Yes, I said, await lifting. Then I blocked their numbers, Mom, Dad, my sister, silencing the chaos. When an email from Mom popped up begging again, I typed one line, beggars don't deserve homes. I hit send, my heart racing, but calm, the words cold and final. For the first time in years, I felt free knowing they'd face the consequences of their demands. I met Laura, a financial advisor I'd connected with through work, the next day. She pulled up my accounts, her brow furrowing as she crunched the numbers. You should have $300,000 more in savings, she said, showing me charts. That's the cost of carrying them. Lost investments, missed opportunities. The figure stunned me, my future, my security drained by their entitlement. What if I keep going? I asked. She ran more numbers, her expression grim. Another decade at this rate, you're looking at nearly $1 million in lost wealth, retirement, a house, your kids' college funds. Laura's advice was blunt, set boundaries now, or you're sacrificing your life for theirs. I nodded, her words echoing Michael's from weeks before. I called Aunt Evelyn that evening, needing her perspective. She'd been cut off by Mom for refusing to give. You did the right thing, she said, voice firm. They need to feel the fallout like I did. It's the only way they'll learn. Her support grounded me, reminding me of that night she was thrown out labeled trash for saying no. Michael sat with me later, his hand steady on my shoulder. Family doesn't treat you like an ATM, he said, eyes locked on mine. You're not their cash cow anymore. His words, sharp and true, fueled my resolve. I wasn't just stopping payments, I was breaking a cycle. Mom would soon find their account empty when the next bill hit, and I wouldn't be there to fix it. That thought, instead of guilt, brought a strange relief. I started redirecting my money that week, pouring it into my retirement fund, opening an investment account to claw back what I'd lost. My apartment felt lighter, like I'd shed a burden. Work was hectic, an app bug kept me late, but I threw myself into it, building a life that was mine. Evelyn checked in, her texts short but warm, urging me to hold firm. Michael and I planned our next steps, moving in together, merging our lives. The silence from my family wasn't peace, it was a ticking clock. They'd expected me to cave, to beg forgiveness for daring to say no, but I was done being their lifeline. Mom found out the next day, their account empty when the credit card bill hit. Emails flooded my inbox, her tone swinging from desperate to furious. Jessica, how could you do this to us? One read, another, we're your family, fix this now. They tried calling from new numbers, voicemails piling up, but I ignored them all. My resolve ironclad. Michael nodded when I showed him the messages. They're panicking because their free ride's over. He said, his voice steady. I agreed, a reckoning was coming, and I wouldn't soften it. 2 weeks later, I agreed to meet them at Central Park, a neutral spot where they couldn't scream me out. Laura, my financial advisor, came along for expertise. Evelyn joined to mediate, her calm presence a lifeline. We sat on benches by a quiet pond, Mom's eyes red from crying, Dad looking haggard, my sister slouched with a scowl. Mom spoke first, voice trembling. Jessica, we're sorry, please, the bank's threatening to take the house. Dad chimed in softer. We just need a little help to get by. I crossed my arms unmoved. You called me trash, Mom. Told me to get out. Why should I save you now? Her face crumpled, but I held firm, the memory of that dinner burning bright. Laura opened her laptop, laying out a plan, 4 months of limited support while they took steps, Dad applying for retail jobs, Mom increasing library hours, my sister finding work. This could stabilize you, Laura said, handing them printouts of job listings and budget templates. Mom pushed them away, voice rising. We don't need your handouts or your plans. You owe us, Jessica, after everything we gave you. Evelyn stepped in, her tone even. Patricia, she's given enough, $200,000 over 6 years. You can't keep demanding. Mom turned on her, snapping. Stay out of this, Evelyn, you're no family to us. It was the same venom she'd spat at Evelyn years ago, and it fueled my decision. I'm done, I said, standing. You made it clear I'm trash to you. Figure it out yourselves. Dad reached out, voice pleading. Jessica, please don't do this. My sister just glared, silent. I walked away, Laura and Evelyn behind me, leaving their stunned faces by the pond. The fallout came fast. A friend from Detroit, still in touch, filled me in. 3 months after I stopped payments, their house went into foreclosure, standard in the US when mortgage payments lapse. The bank seized it, their credit score tanked, and no lender would touch them. Dad took a low-wage job stocking shelves at a big box store, his pride battered. Mom's health issues forced her to cut library hours further, barely scraping by. My sister, jobless for months, applied for public assistance and crashed with friends, her art supplies gathering dust. I didn't reach out, didn't soften. Their choices, their consequences. I kept tabs from afar, feeling no guilt, only a cold satisfaction. My life moved forward. Michael and I merged our worlds, moving into a bigger apartment, our bookshelves blending, routines sinking. I poured money into investments, rebuilding what I'd lost. On a quiet fall evening, I proposed to Michael in our building's courtyard, no grand gesture, just us. He said yes, tears in his eyes, and we planned a small wedding, inviting only Evelyn and a few close friends. My family wasn't welcome, not after their betrayal. Looking back, I learned a hard truth: love doesn't mean endless giving. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. Mom, Dad, my sister, they used guilt to chain me, treating my money as their right. Cutting them off wasn't revenge in the petty sense, it was justice, letting their actions catch up to them. Their house gone, their lives upended, they're learning what happens when you burn bridges with someone who held you up. If you're facing similar family traps, know this: you don't owe anyone your future. Real love empowers, not drains. Let consequences teach those who won't listen.